Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about food-borne diseases. Food-borne diseases include infection, intoxication, and toxin-mediated infections. So basically, what is food-borne infection? The ingestion of a pathogenic microorganism which is already present in the food, and you're eating that contaminated food, which leads to the infections. Example like salmonella, E. coli, and listeria are the type of infections. And whereas food-borne intoxication is nothing but the toxins are produced by the microorganism, and you are eating that food, which leads into the intoxicated. Like already the food contains toxins and you are eating the food which contains toxins, so which leads to intoxication. Example, staphylococcus aureus and clostridium botulinum toxin. Moving on to the food-borne toxin-mediated infection, which is because the toxins are produced inside the body by the microorganism after ingestion the food which is contaminated. Example, Clostridium perfringens, Shiga toxin producing E. coli. Now we will be moving on to individual microorganism and see how it affects the body. The first is Staphylococcus food intoxication. So as now you know what is intoxication. It contains some toxins inside the food which are released by microorganism, and that you're consuming leads to food intoxication. The organism responsible is Staphylococcus aureus. The source are human carriers like nose, mucus, skin, boils, infection wound, dairy cows with mastitis disease, and contamination utensils or air, which is a very rare case. Now moving on to the incubation period, it can be with the range of 1 to 7 hours, typically in 2 to 4 hours. The symptoms include salivation, nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramps, and diarrhea. Nausea is nothing but the sensation of vomiting. Severe cases includes mucus in stool, headache, chill. Prostration is the position of your body posture, and temperature, subnormal temperature, and which can be recovered within 1 to 2 days. And the toxin produced is enterotoxin. You need to remember this very carefully, that the staphylococcus produces enterotoxins. There are different types of enterotoxins, ranges from A to E, A, B, C, D, and E, which are heat stable protein because of the cysteine loop, which contains a cysteine loop. The contamination happens because of the improper handling of cream pastries, meat, poultry, custards, and growth encouraged at 15.6 to 46.1 degrees Celsius in nutrient-rich food. That means if a food is within the range of 15 to 46, then the growth of this staphylococcus is highly great. And reheating does not destroy toxins because it contains heat stable protein. Moving on to the next, which is salmonellosis, mostly because of egg, but we'll see in detail. Organism responsible is Salmonella species, which can be Enteritidis or Typhimurium, and the source is raw undercooked meat, poultry, which includes chicken, eggs, and milk and seafood. Contaminated pet foods and animal are the carriers. The incubation is 12 to 36 hours, which is roughly 3 days, and sometimes it can range to 5 to 72 hours. The symptoms include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, greenish foul smelling stool, fever, chills, and drowsiness. Can last up to 2 to 3 days or persist for a week. The type of the toxin is not produced in salmonellosis, so this is basically a infection. If there are no toxins produced, then it is an infection. The contamination is because of the unrefrigerated food, meat, pies, egg-based desserts. Cross-contamination can be happen from raw to cooked food. Basically, poor hygienic practices whenever you're cooking. Moving on to the third, which is botulism, which is because of Clostridium botulinum, which includes type A, B, E, and sources is inadequately processed home canned vegetable meat, smoked fish, sausages, chili, and viscous. The incubation period is 12 to 36 hours, and the symptoms is basically the digestive distress, gastrointestinal problems, fatigue, and neurological symptoms, which leads to double vision, dry mouth, paralysis, and respiratory failure. Sometimes, if it is left untreated, it leads to fatal. The type of toxin is botulinum neurotoxin. It is a neurotoxin that affects the neuro system of a body. The contamination is because of the improper heat processing and poor refrigeration. The growth can happen at anaerobic, which is nothing but absence of oxygen, and also food which contains low acid canned food. It can also be seen in infants, which is called as infant botulism, because the toxins are produced from the spore. The major source is honey. As you grow old, the spores, because of the high acid content in our stomach, the spores can be killed. But infants, they have weak stomach. They cannot able to kill the spores of botulinum. Hence, honey is avoided for the infants. Moving on to the listeriosis, it caused by Listeria monocytogenes. It is because of unpasteurized milk, soft cheese, coleslaw, which is basically a salad made up of cabbage and mayonnaise, and deli meats, contaminated slates, soil, manure, fertilized. The incubation period in gastroenteritis, gastro tract, is greater than 12 hours. The disease can be up to days to weeks. In pregnancy, abortion and stillbirth can happen if she is affected with listeria. And in immunocompromised, that means if the immune system is weakened, it can lead to septicemia and meningitis. The type of toxin, as it is infection based, there is no toxin released. It happens even in the refrigerator temperature. Post pasteurization contamination is a major concern. Even the pasteurization happens post that, the contamination can also lead the growth of the organism listeria. Moving on to the fourth, Clostridium perfringens, food poisoning. It is because of an enterotoxin, which is type A. The organism responsible is Clostridium perfringens. Improperly cooked and cooled meat, poultry, and gravies are the sources of the food poisoning. Incubation period is 8 to 22 hours, and the average can be 11.5 hours. Median is nothing but average. Symptoms are diarrhea, abdominal pain, vomiting is rare. Illness lasts from 1 to 2 days. Now moving on to the type of toxins, which is the enterotoxin. The contamination is because of spores which survives during cooking and germinate during slow cooking, and large outbreaks in catered events and institutions because of the poor handling cases. So now you need to remember which organism releases which type of a toxin. Like we have neurotoxin by Clostridium botulinum, and enterotoxins by Staphylococcus and Clostridium.
Now we will see Bacillus cereus food poisoning. Organism include Bacillus cereus. We have two types, diarrheal and emetic. Diarrheal is a toxin produced in small intestine, and emetic which has already present inside the food. First we'll see diarrheal and then we'll move to emetic. Diarrheal includes meat, milk, and vegetable. The incubation period is 8 to 16 hours, and the symptoms includes cramps, watery diarrhea, and it is a heat liable enterotoxin. Whereas emetic, which is the common sources include cooked rice and pasta, and the incubation period is 1 to 5 hours. Nausea and vomiting are the major symptoms, and it is a heat stable cerulide toxin. The major contamination happens because of the spores surviving with the process of cooking and improper refrigeration, which leads to the growth of the microorganism. Now we'll move into the Vibrio infections, which includes cholera and parahemolytic species. The organism responsible are Vibrio cholera and Vibrio parahemolyticus. The sources included contaminated seafood, raw shellfish, and coastal water. Incubation includes the period includes for 2 to 24 hours. The symptoms are related with gastroenteritis with watery diarrhea, nausea, chills, and fever. And the cholera contains profuse diarrhea along with the dehydration. The toxin is cholera toxin, and the contamination is because of undercooked seafood, raw oyster, water polluted with sewage. Moving on to the Campylobacteriosis, the organism is Campylobacter jejuni. The sources are raw poultry milk and water. The incubation period is 2 to 5 days. Symptoms include diarrhea, which can be bloody. That is nothing but the blood is seen in diarrhea, fever, and cramps. Cramps are nothing but pain. The type of toxins are cytotoxin, but which is not characterized. Contamination is because of the raw meat and inadequate pasteurization or cooking processes. We have 3 other small microorganisms which are majorly related with water and also feces. Plasmonas shigaloids found in seafood and water. The major cause leads to the diarrhea. Similar with Aeromonas hydrophilia, seen in water and seafood, which causes diarrhea. Streptococcus facilis, very rarely affected, which is often linked with meat on puddings, which causes the gastrointestinal upset. Moving on to the viruses section, we have hepatitis A. It is caused by hepatitis A virus. We have that is because of the contamination of water or food, raw raw milk and potato salad, sandwiches, and cold cuts. The incubation period is for 15 to 50 days. The symptoms you can observe is fever, fatigue. Fatigue is tiredness, nausea, loss of appetite. Appetite is they don't feel like eating. Jaundice, which often profound with the yellowing of the skin, dark urine along with the dark yellowish eyes. Liver inflammation is seen in severe cases. Toxins, as it is an infection, none of the toxins are produced. Contamination is because of fecal oral route, infected handlers, and polluted harvesting water. Example, oyster. The notable outbreak was seen because of the raw oysters from the polluted water. Moving on to the norovirus, all the viruses are made majorly because of the contamination from the fecal to oral route that you can remember. The organism responsible for norovirus is norovirus. The sources are shellfish when it is eaten raw, contaminated bakery frosting, or coleslaw. Coleslaw is a salad. Incubation is 12 to 48 hours, and the symptoms include nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, abdominal cramps. As it is an infection, no toxins again are produced. Contamination is fecal oral route, and which is very seen in institutional food settings because of the poor hygienic conditions. Notable outbreaks is one because of bakery frosting, 3,000 cases were seen, and because of coleslaw, a salad, 2,000 cases were seen. Moving on to the ECHO virus, which is enteric cytopathic human orphan virus, which is because of the ECHO virus, and the source is salads and coleslaw. Because of coleslaw, we have 1976 outbreak. The symptoms include gastroenteritis like illness, which includes diarrhea, cramp, and fever. The incubation period is 24 to 72 hours. As it is an infection, no toxin is there. Contamination is fecal oral route. Food handling contamination can be suspected. The next virus is Coxsackie virus. It has 2 variants, A and B. The sources are raw vegetables like lettuce and contaminated water or surfaces. The incubation period is 2 to 6 days. Symptoms include fever, sore throat, diarrhea, rashes, which varies according to the strain. As again it is an infection, there is no toxin released. The contamination happens because of the area of the food grown or washed with contaminated water. Moving on to the mycotoxins. Myco is nothing but fungus. The toxins which are produced by fungus are called as mycotoxin. Basically, they are the secondary metabolites. We have aflatoxins by Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus. Aflatoxins are the very famous mycotoxins which are very common in the groundnut. If you have ever come across with the bittery, darkish, blackish peanut, that is affected with alpha aspergillus flavus, which contains aflatoxins, which are very dangerous if you are eating on a larger quantity. Moving on to the Penicillium verrucosum, which contains ochratoxin, Fusarium species, which includes Trichothecus and Zera alanon. The sources included cereals and nuts like peanuts and corn, spices and dried fruits. Symptoms: vomiting, liver damage. Chronic cases, you can see liver cancer and immunosuppression, which is nothing but the immune system has been compromised. Toxin types: we have aflatoxins. B1 is the most toxic, and patulin, ochratoxin, and citrin are the common mycotoxins. Contamination route is because of the improper storage condition, and again, one more reason is because of the fungal growth on the crops. Moving on to the food-borne parasites, we have Trichinella spiralis, which causes trichinosis if you are consuming undercooked pork, Entamoeba histolytica, Giardia lamblia, Toxoplasma gondii, and tapeworms and flukes. The sources for the trichinosis is because of the pork containing ancestor larva. Upon consumption of contaminated larvas in the pork, it leads to the growth of the microorganism, the parasite inside the body, and leads to the trichinosis disease. Incubation is 1 day to weeks. The symptoms can be nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. In a later stage, you can see fever, muscle pain, and facial swelling. The major contamination is because of the ingestion of undercooked infected meat. Moving on to the seafood toxicants, we have Ciguataria, which produces cyanotoxin. It is because of the toxic algae, example like Lingmia majuscula. The symptoms include nausea, vomiting, and neurological symptoms. Scrombriad poisoning, which is because of the histamine, and that is due to decarboxylation in spoiled fish like tuna. The symptoms include flushing, is basically the hot waves, headache, oral burning, and itching. Flushing is like you feel very hot. Organism, Proteus morgani and Klebsiella pneumonia. Shellfish poisoning because of the saxitoxins, which are again a neurotoxin which leads to paralysis. I hope this video is helpful. If this video is helpful, please like, share, and subscribe, and follow our Instagram channel Nutrition CP Chat for more updated info. Thank you.